Silver Creek, Colorado Territory, summer of 1830. The heat moved like a living thing that year. It crawled through the canyon, settled on your skin, and refused to let go. Dust hung in the air, thick enough to taste. Maddox Redfeather, half Comanche, half shadow, leaned against the fence rail outside the Thornwell estate, his arms folded across a chest carved from years of survival. He'd been tracking stolen horses all morning, horses Judge Thornwell claimed were taken by raiders. But Maddox knew better. The judge's enemies weren't thieves. They were men like him, men pushed off land that had once belonged to their ancestors. Above him, lanterns swayed on the great porch. Music drifted down, piano notes, laughter, crystal glasses clinking. Tonight was Miss Evangeline Thornwell's engagement celebration. She was being promised to the governor's nephew, a man with smooth hands and eyes cold as river stones. Maddox wasn't invited. He never was. 8 years he'd served the judge, first as a tracker, then a guide, then something not quite either. His loyalty was currency, his silence, insurance. But no matter how many trails he rode, how many problems he solved before they exploded, he remained what they called him, a half-breed. Tolerated, never trusted. He was 18 the first time he saw Evangeline. She'd been just 16 then, barefoot in the apple orchard, reading a book under twisted branches. Unlike her father, her gaze had been curious, not cruel. She never flinched from him. That alone made her unforgettable. Now she was 24, still carried that same quiet fire in her spine. She stood near the window, framed by velvet curtains, listening to the man beside her talk. She smiled in all the right places, but Maddox could see her smile was hollow. She caught his gaze, just once. Something wordless passed between them. He turned away before anyone noticed. But the night wasn't finished with them yet. Later that night, back in the bunkhouse, Maddox stripped off his trail-worn clothes. The water in the tin basin turned rust brown, but it wasn't the kind of dirt that washed off easy. His muscles ached, the quiet fatigue of someone who'd lived too long between worlds. He sat on his cot, bare feet on wooden planks, listening. Far off, the party was dying down. Horses whinnied, laughter thinned. Then, something else. A thud, muffled voices, a scraping sound. Maddox rose, knife in hand. He stepped into moonlight. The estate was quiet, too quiet. Then he saw it, a servant's door, left ajar, a trail of disturbed dirt, fresh boot tracks, a drag mark. His stomach dropped. He followed the path, sprinting past gardens, the orchard, down the slope where trees thinned. At the edge of the lower fields, near the ravine, he found it, a torn piece of fabric, pale blue silk, Evangeline's. The tracks veered east, 3 horses, maybe 4, moving fast. One rider, unburdened until now. He knew that route. It led to the Badlands. No law there, just dry gulches and men who answered to no one. He ran back to the stables, heart hammering. Thunder, his Mustang sensed it too, eyes wide, breath snorting. Maddox saddled fast. No supplies, no food, just his rifle, knife, and the kind of rage that lives cold and deep. He passed the main house on his way out. The judge's study window glowed amber. Inside, voices rose. "She's gone," said one voice. "Taken." A pause. Then the judge, his voice flat. "Let them take her." Silence. "But sir, the governor, your alliance." "She's not my blood," Judge Thornwell said coldly. "Never was. She's the price, that's all." If this story has gripped your heart already, please hit that like button and subscribe so we can reach more people. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. Maddox's blood turned to ice. Evangeline, discarded like a broken contract. He didn't knock, didn't speak. He rode into darkness, like vengeance itself. By dawn, Maddox was deep in the bluff trails, following hoofprints only someone like him could read. The summer sun climbed, merciless. Heat waves shimmered off the rocks, but he didn't stop, couldn't stop. He found a dry creek bed. Water had pooled around fresh prints. 3 horses, 1 riderless, a set of boot marks near the edge, 1 smaller than the rest. Someone had struggled here, a broken branch, caught on silk. She was still alive. He pressed on, the sun rising sharp behind him. As the temperature climbed, so did his focus. He remembered her face, strong chin, the way her brows pulled together when she read. He remembered how she'd once handed him a book. He couldn't read it then. She'd said softly, "You should learn, Maddox. Your thoughts are worth being written." No one had ever spoken to him like that. And now she was taken. Not for ransom, not for power. This was punishment. This was the judge, cleaning up the past before it spoke. The trail led through narrow canyons, walls of red stone rising on both sides. Thorny mesquite scratched his arms. The air tasted like copper and dust. Then he heard it. Voices, echoing faint from within stone. He left Thunder tethered behind a boulder, moved forward on foot, rifle across his back, blade at his hip. The opening appeared, partially hidden by brush. An old mine shaft, long abandoned, half collapsed, but deep enough to hide men without conscience. He crept closer, ears straining. Inside, someone cursed. "Hold her still, damn it!" Another voice, crueler. "Girl don't even fight no more." Maddox's vision narrowed. He counted 2 voices inside. The third man must be scouting. Good. He didn't hesitate. He burst through the brush, like a storm. Blade first. The first man never got his hand to his pistol. Maddox drove the knife straight under his ribs, twisting hard. The body crumpled without a sound. The second stumbled backward, reaching for a shotgun. But Maddox was faster. He slammed into him, fists like hammers. A punch to the jaw, another to the throat. The man gurgled, fell choking on his own breath. Then silence. Then breathing, shallow, ragged. Maddox turned and saw her. Evangeline lay on the dirt floor, wrists bound above her head, ankles tied tight. Her dress was torn, stained with blood and dirt, her skin pale, bruised. But her eyes were open, dazed, afraid. "Evangeline," he said, voice low. "It's me, Maddox." She blinked, tried to speak. Her lips trembled. He knelt, cutting the ropes at her wrists. When he moved to her ankles, he paused, noticing the dark stain on her dress, between her thighs. His stomach dropped. "Are you hurt?" he asked, voice taut. Her eyes welled. "No, not like that. It's just my time." It took a second. Then understanding dawned. Relief swept through him like wind over fire. "Okay," he murmured. "Okay." He didn't blush, didn't look away, just helped her sit up, wrapping her in his coat. Her hands trembled. "I thought you wouldn't come." "I did." That was all. He helped her stand. Her knees buckled. He caught her, lifting her easily into his arms. She buried her face in his shoulder. As he carried her into blinding sunlight, her fingers clung weakly to his shirt. The canyon walls rose around them, endless and unforgiving. "Where's the third man?" she whispered. Maddox's jaw tightened. Close. A gunshot cracked through the air. Rock exploded inches from his head. Maddox dove behind a boulder, Evangeline still in his arms. Another shot rang out, splintering stone above them. "Stay down," he growled. He set her gently against the rock, then drew his rifle. The third man stood on the ridge above, silhouetted against the sun, rifle raised. "Should have minded your business, Breed," the man shouted. Maddox didn't answer, just calculated distance, wind, angle. The man fired again, missed. Maddox squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed through the canyon. The man's rifle tumbled from his hands. He staggered, clutched his shoulder, then fell backward over the ridge. Silence returned. Evangeline's breath came fast, shallow. "Is he?" "Dead, or close enough," Maddox said. He slung the rifle over his shoulder. "We need to move. Now." They made it to Thunder. Maddox lifted Evangeline into the saddle, then swung up behind her. His arms circled her as he took the reins. She leaned back against his chest, exhausted. "Why did you come for me?" she whispered. He didn't answer right away, just guided Thunder through the narrow pass, away from the mine. Finally, "Because you matter." Not to him. No, not to him. They rode in silence. The sun climbed higher. Heat pressed down like a weight. After an hour, she spoke again. "My father, he said I wasn't his blood." "Yes." She was quiet for a long time. Then, "That's why he always looked at me like I reminded him of a mistake." Maddox's jaw clenched. "You're not a mistake." Her voice cracked. "Then what am I?" "You're alive. That's enough. This story is just getting started, and we need your support to keep going. Hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. Your engagement keeps these stories alive." They crested a hill. Below them, in the distance, a dust cloud rose, riders, coming fast. "They found us," Evangeline breathed. Maddox spurred Thunder forward. "Hold on." They rode hard, cutting through arroyos and dry washes, the riders behind them, relentless. Maddox knew this land, every rock, every hidden trail. He guided Thunder into a narrow canyon, so tight the walls brushed his shoulders. Behind them, hoofbeats echoed, shouts, gunfire. But the canyon twisted, darkened, and suddenly they were through, into a hidden valley. An abandoned shepherd's cabin sat beneath twisted oaks, roof half collapsed, but the stone walls still stood. Maddox dismounted, pulled Evangeline down. "Inside, now!" She stumbled through the door. He followed, dragging Thunder behind them. The cabin smelled of old smoke and animal bones, but it was shelter. Maddox barred the door with a plank, checked his ammunition, 6 bullets left. Evangeline sank against the wall, breathing hard. "They'll find us." "Eventually." "Then what?" He met her eyes. "Then we fight." She laughed, bitter and broken. "I don't know how to fight." "You're still alive. That's fighting." Outside, the hoofbeats grew closer, stopped. Voices called out. "We know you're in there, Redfeather." Maddox recognized the voice. Sheriff Garrett Hayes, the judge's right hand. "Send the girl out," Hayes shouted. "You can ride free. You got my word." Evangeline looked at Maddox. "Maybe you should." "No." "Maddox." "I said no." She stared at him. Something shifted in her eyes. "Why?" "Because I've lived my whole life being told where I belong, who I am, what I'm worth." He checked his rifle. "I'm done with that. And so are you." A long pause. Then Hayes again. "Last chance, Breed." Maddox moved to the window, peered through a crack. 4 men outside, rifles drawn, spreading out. He turned back to Evangeline. "Can you shoot?" She shook her head. He handed her his pistol anyway. "Point, squeeze, don't think." She took it, hands shaking. "Maddox, I'm scared." "Good. Fear keeps you sharp." A gunshot shattered the window. Glass exploded inward. Evangeline screamed, and the siege began. Bullets tore through the cabin walls. Wood splintered. Dust choked the air. Maddox returned fire, calm and precise. 1 shot. 1 man down. "Reload!" he barked. Evangeline fumbled with the ammunition, fingers clumsy with fear, but she did it. Another volley. Another shot from Maddox. Another body hit the dirt. 2 left. Hayes shouted from behind cover. "You're just making it worse, Redfeather." "Then leave," Maddox called back. "Can't do that. Judge wants her dead, and you with her." Evangeline froze. "He wants me dead?" Maddox glanced at her. "You know too much about the land deeds, the bribes, everything." Her face went pale. I never said anything. Doesn't matter. You exist. That's enough. Silence outside. Too quiet. Maddox tensed. They're moving. A shadow crossed the window. He fired. Missed. Then, the back door exploded inward. Hayes burst through, revolver raised. Evangeline screamed, raised the pistol, fired. The shot went wide, but it startled Hayes. He stumbled. Maddox lunged. They crashed into the wall. Fists, elbows, teeth. Hayes was strong, vicious, but Maddox was faster. He drove his knee into Hayes's gut, grabbed his wrist, twisted. The revolver clattered to the floor. Evangeline dove for it. Hayes threw Maddox off, reached for his knife. But Evangeline was faster. She pressed the barrel against Hayes's temple. "Don't," she whispered. Hayes froze, looked at her, laughed. "You won't do it, girl. You're too soft." Her hand trembled. "You're right. I am soft." She pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed. Hayes slumped. Evangeline dropped the gun, staring at her hands. Maddox rose slowly, touched her shoulder. "You did what you had to." She looked up, eyes hollow. "Does that make me like them?" "No, it makes you alive." Outside, the last rider fled, hoofbeats fading into distance. The cabin fell silent. Evangeline sank to her knees, and for the first time, she wept. But even as she cried, she knew she'd never be helpless again. They left the cabin at dusk, rode through the summer night under a sky thick with stars. Evangeline sat behind Maddox, silent, her arms wrapped around his waist, not clinging, just holding on. "Where are we going?" she finally asked. "Somewhere safe." "Is there such a place?" He didn't answer. They reached a ranch house by dawn. Old adobe walls, a corral, smoke rising from the chimney. A man stepped onto the porch, grey-haired, sharp-eyed, a Winchester across his lap. "Maddox," the man said, "didn't expect to see you again." "Gideon," Maddox replied. "We need shelter." Gideon's gaze moved to Evangeline. "That's Thornwell's daughter." "Not anymore." Gideon studied them both, then nodded. Inside, the cabin was simple, clean. A fire burned in the hearth. Gideon poured coffee. "Judge sent word. Says his daughter was kidnapped. Says a half-breed tracker murdered 3 lawmen." Evangeline's voice was steady. "He's lying." "I know." Gideon sipped his coffee. "Question is, what are you going to do about it?" Maddox leaned forward. "We have proof, deeds, contracts, everything he's done to steal land and buy power." "You have documents?" "Hidden, back at the estate." Gideon nodded slowly. "Then you need to get them, and you need to get them to someone who matters." "Who?" "There's a federal judge in Santa Fe. Name's Warren Cross. He's clean, honest, rare as snow in August, but real." Evangeline spoke up. "If we go back, my father will kill us." Gideon met her eyes. "If you don't, he wins. And every piece of land he's stolen stays stolen. Every family he's ruined stays ruined." She looked at Maddox. "What do you think?" He didn't hesitate. "I think we finish this." She nodded. "Then we go tonight." Outside, the wind picked up. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon. And somewhere in Silver Creek, Judge Thornwell sharpened his knives. They rode back under cover of darkness. Summer lightning flickered in the distance, but no rain fell. The Thornwell estate rose before them, dark, silent, waiting. Maddox left thunder tied in the trees. They approached on foot, moving through shadows. The back door was unlocked, too easy. Inside, the house smelled of tobacco and old leather. Every floorboard creaked, every shadow seemed alive. Maddox led the way, rifle ready. Evangeline followed, the pistol heavy in her hand. They reached the study. Maddox knelt, pried up the floorboard. The safe was there, old and iron-bound. "Do you know the combination?" he whispered. Evangeline nodded. "The year he bought his judgeship, 1819. The dial clicked. The latch gave. Inside, stacks of deeds, cash, and a small black book. Maddox opened it. Names, payments, signatures, some marked with red ink. "This is it," he breathed. "Everything." Evangeline pulled out a folded letter. Her hands shook. This is my mother's handwriting." Maddox looked over her shoulder. It was a deed, land left in trust, to Evangeline, but it had been altered, forged, stolen. "He took everything from her," Evangeline whispered, "even her memory." "Not anymore." A floorboard creaked behind them. They spun. Judge Thornwell stood in the doorway, a shotgun in his hands. "I knew you'd come back," he said calmly. "Predictable, just like your mother." Evangeline stood slowly. "You killed her." "I freed myself from her." He smiled, cold, empty. "And now, I'll do the same with you." He raised the shotgun. Maddox moved, but Evangeline was faster. She raised her pistol, aimed, and fired. The judge staggered, looked down at the blood spreading across his chest. Then he laughed. "You finally grew a spine," he whispered, and fell. The gunshot echoed through the house. Footsteps pounded, voices shouted, "Go!" Maddox grabbed Evangeline's arm. They ran, down the hall, through the kitchen, out into the summer night. Behind them, men spilled from the house, lanterns flared, dogs barked. Maddox and Evangeline reached Thunder. He pulled her up, spurred hard. They galloped into darkness, the black book clutched tight in Evangeline's hands. Gunfire cracked behind them. Bullets sang through the air, but the night swallowed them whole. They rode until dawn, until the estate was just a memory, until their lungs burned and Thunder's sides heaved with exhaustion. Finally, they stopped, beside a creek, under cottonwood trees. Evangeline slid from the saddle, her legs buckled. She caught herself on a tree trunk. "I killed him," she whispered. "I killed my own father. He wasn't your father. He raised me. He used you." She looked at him, eyes raw. "Does it get easier? The killing?" Maddox shook his head. "No, but you learn to carry it." She sank to the ground. "I don't know if I can." He sat beside her. "You already are." They sat in silence. The creek babbled, birds sang. The world kept turning. After a while, Evangeline opened the black book, read the names, the crimes, the lies. "This could destroy half the territory," she said. "Or save it." She closed the book. "What if they don't believe us?" "Then we make them believe." She looked at him, really looked. "Why are you doing this? You could have left me in that mine, ridden away, started over." Before we go any further, we need to ask, are you still with us? If this story has moved you, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. It means everything to us. Maddox met her gaze. "Because 8 years ago, you treated me like a human being. That's rare, worth dying for." She reached for his hand and held on. In the distance, more riders appeared, coming fast. "Not done yet," Maddox muttered. Evangeline stood. This time, she didn't run. 3 days later, they stood before Federal Judge Warren Cross in Santa Fe. The courtroom was packed. Ranchers, soldiers, merchants, people who'd lost land, families who'd lost everything. Judge Cross was an older man, silver-beard, eyes like flint. He studied the black book, read page after page. His face never changed. Finally, he looked up. "Miss Thornwell, do you swear this evidence is authentic?" Evangeline stood. "I do, Your Honor." "And you're willing to testify, even against your own father?" "He was never my father. And yes, I'll testify to everything." The courtroom erupted, whispers, gasps, shouting. Judge Cross slammed his gavel. "Order!" For 2 hours, Evangeline spoke, named every name, every bribe, every stolen deed, every lie her father had built his empire on. Her voice never wavered. When she finished, the courtroom sat in stunned silence. Judge Cross leaned back. "Mr. Redfeather, you were Judge Thornwell's tracker. Why should this court believe you're not complicit? Maddox stood. Because I'm not asking you to believe me, Your Honor. I'm asking you to believe the evidence. And her. Cross nodded slowly. The court will recess. Warrants will be issued. Assets will be frozen pending investigation. He looked at Evangeline. You understand, this will destroy your family name. Good, she said quietly. It should have been destroyed years ago. Cross's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Court adjourned. Outside, Evangeline stood in the summer sun. People stared, whispered. Some nodded in respect, others glared. Maddox stood beside her. What now? She looked at him. I don't know. I have no home, no family, no name. You have yourself. She smiled, sad but real. Is that enough? It's everything. A man in a dark coat approached. Miss Thornwell? She tensed. Yes? There's someone who wants to meet you. He gestured toward a carriage. Inside, a woman with kind eyes, and Evangeline's face. The woman stepped from the carriage, older, worn, but her eyes were Evangeline's eyes. My name is Sarah, she said softly. Sarah Whitmore. I'm your mother. Evangeline's world stopped. My mother is dead. That's what he told you, but I'm very much alive. Tears spilled down Evangeline's cheeks. Why? Why would he? Because I tried to leave him, tried to take you with me. He told me if I ever came back, he'd make sure I never saw you again. Sarah's voice broke. So I stayed away. I thought it was the only way to keep you safe. They stood there, mother and daughter, separated by years of lies. Finally, Evangeline stepped forward, into her mother's arms, and sobbed. Maddox watched from a distance, gave them space. Later, as the sun set, Sarah approached him. Thank you for protecting her. He nodded. She protected herself. Will you stay? With her? He looked at Evangeline. She stood in the golden light, different now, stronger, free. That's her choice, he said. Sarah smiled. I think she's already made it. That night, Evangeline found Maddox on the edge of town, watching the stars. She sat beside him. My mother wants us to come with her, to California, start over. What do you want? She looked at him. I want to stop running. I want to build something that's mine, ours. He took her hand. Then we will. They sat in silence, the summer wind warm on their faces. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Your support makes stories like this possible. Somewhere behind them, Silver Creek burned with scandal. But ahead, the horizon stretched wide and endless, full of possibility, and they rode toward it, together. The end.